The tires screeched as Dad's SUV peeled away from the curb, leaving me choking on exhaust and the metallic tang of betrayal in the humid Paris air. "You're on your own now, Xander. Figure it out like a man." Mom had spat through the half-open window, her eyes hard as the marble foyer back home in Ohio, before slamming it shut. I stood there, 18 years old, passport trembling in my fist, watching the only family I'd ever known vanish into the swarm of taxis, their taillights mocking me like fireflies fleeing a storm. That was the moment everything cracked open, raw and irreversible, like the first rip in a seam that's been holding too tight for too long. We'd flown out of Columbus that morning. Me in the back seat, silent as a ghost, them up front trading whispers about fixing me. Coming out had been my Hail Mary, blurted over Thanksgiving turkey in our split-level ranch house. The words tumbling out amid the clink of forks and the football game droning on TV. "I'm gay. Okay? I can't pretend anymore." Dad's face had gone the color of overcooked gravy. Mom's prayers starting before the plate hit the table. By Black Friday, the tickets were booked. A one-way to France, dumped on Aunt Clara's doorstep in Lyon, where she'd straighten me out with her Bible studies and stern French lessons. Or so they said. But Aunt Clara never showed. No text, no call. Just me. A duffel bag stuffed with hoodies and jeans, and a wad of euros that barely covered a coffee. The airport announcements blurred into French static overhead, and panic clawed up my throat like barbed wire. I trusted them. God help me. Trusted that love meant something unbreakable, even when it bent you till you snapped. Now, with the sun dipping low over Charles de Gaulle's endless runways, I was adrift in a country that felt as foreign as my own skin. I stumbled toward the terminal, legs like lead, the weight of the bag pulling me earthward. Travelers rushed past. Business suits barking into phones, families herding kids with gelato-smeared faces, none sparing me a glance. My phone buzzed. A single message from Mom. "This is for your own good. Pray for guidance." "No, I love you."
No good vie.
I sank onto a bench by the baggage claim, the carousel spinning empty circles, and let the tears come hot and unbidden. What now? Call the embassy? Beg a stranger? The thought of phoning Dad, of hearing that disappointed sigh, twisted the knife deeper. I'd fought for authenticity, and this was the cost. Exile served cold. That's when he appeared, like a glitch in the universe's cruel code. Levi. He was leaning against a pillar, sketching in a battered notebook, his dark curls falling over wire-rimmed glasses that caught the fluorescent glow. Mid-20s, maybe, with a faded band tee under a leather jacket that screamed Brooklyn thrift shop, and a backpack slung low like he'd been wandering forever. Our eyes met when I fumbled my water bottle, sending it rolling toward his boots. He scooped it up, handed it back with a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. Wary, but kind. Rough landing. His accent was pure East Coast, vowels stretched like taffy. I wiped my face, mumbling something about lost luggage. Lie, but it bought time. He sat, uninvited but not unwelcome, flipping his notebook shut.
I'm Levi.
Artist type, crashing with cousins here. You look like you could use a coffee that's not airport swill. There was no pity in his voice, just that quiet anchor in a sea of chaos. I nodded, throat too tight for words, and we ended up at a dingy cafe tucked in the terminal's shadow, where the espresso burned away the edges of my shock. Over chipped mugs, the story spilled out, halting at first, then in a flood. The dinner table confession. The arguments that echoed through our cul-de-sac house like thunderclaps. Dad's rants about family values. Mom's tears soaked into her quilted robe as she packed my bag. "They think France will cure me," I said, voice cracking on the word cure. Levi listened, chin propped on his hand, his brown eyes steady as the Seine I'd only seen in postcards. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes. When I finished, he leaned back, exhaling slow. My folks pulled the same stunt. Kicked me out at 16, mid-blizzard in Philly. Said I was choosing sin over blood. Took me 2 years on the streets to learn that blood don't mean family. He offered his couch that night. Cousins are loaded, room to spare. And I took it, too wrecked to argue. Their apartment in the Marais was a riot of exposed brick and half-finished canvases, sunlight slanting through tall windows like golden fingers. Levi's corner was chaos. Sketchpads piled high, a guitar gathering dust, Polaroids thumbtacked to the wall of faces from cities he'd roamed. San Francisco fog, New Orleans jazz, the neon bleed of Tokyo. I crashed on the lumpy sofa, staring at the ceiling cracks that mapped like veins, and dreamed of Ohio cornfields turning to ash. Days blurred into a fragile rhythm. Levi dragged me to markets where vendors hawked cheeses that smelled like earth and regret, teaching me to haggle in broken French. We'd wander the Seine at twilight, bridges arched like lovers' backs, and he'd point out gargoyles with stories. Fallen angels, he called them, guardians of the outcast. See that one? Looks like my ex. He'd quip, but his laugh never quite landed. I learned his edges. The way he'd tense at loud voices, a scar from a bar fight in Queens. How he'd sketch me unawares, charcoal smudging my jawline into something fierce. Betrayal simmered beneath it all, a low boil. I'd wake to phantom knocks, half expecting Mom's voice through the door, begging forgiveness. Instead, silence. A week in, I caved and called home voicemail, both of them. Dad's gruff recording. Leave a message. I did, raw and rambling. I'm scared. I love you. Come get me. No reply. Then, the knife twist. A letter forwarded from the airport, lost and found. Aunt Clara's elegant script. Xander, your parents never contacted me. Whatever demons you're fighting, face them without dragging innocence in.
Bonne chance.
She'd known. All along, they hadn't even looped her in, just dumped me like yesterday's news. Rage hit like a freight train. I hurled the letter across the room, shattering a vase Levi had glued back together a dozen times. He found me sobbing on the fire escape, Paris sprawling below like a glittering trap. They lied. I choked out. Used her as an excuse to erase me. He pulled me into his chest, arms solid as oak, and for the first time, I let myself lean. Not break, just lean. Erasure's their weapon. He murmured, breath warm against my hair. But you're still here, drawing breath. That's the win. From there, the romance unfurled slow, like a Polaroid developing in the dark. It started with stolen glances over breakfast crepes, his fingers brushing mine when passing the jam. A rainy afternoon in the Louvre, shoulder to shoulder before the winged victory, where he whispered, "You remind me of her, statue strong, even cracked." I turned, our faces inches apart, and the air thickened with unspoken want. Our first kiss was under that downpour outside, umbrellas forgotten, water streaming down our faces like shared tears. It tasted of salt and second chances, his hands cupping my cheeks as if I were porcelain he'd never drop. But love in exile is a tightrope over thorns. Levi had his own ghosts, an ex who'd ghosted him after a gallery opening, leaving echoes of doubt. "I'm no good at sticking," he'd say, pulling away after nights tangled in sheets, our bodies mapping vulnerabilities without crossing into the forbidden. We'd talk instead, hours bleeding into dawn. My high school crushes hidden in locker notes, his first Pride March in D.C., rainbows clashing with riot cops, yet conflict brewed. My visa teetered, tourist status crumbling without funds, and Levi's cousins hinted at house guests wearing out welcomes. "You're not a stray," he snapped at them one night, but the words lingered, a seed of fear. The climax crashed on a crisp October eve. Bastille Day echoes still in the air. I'd scraped a barista gig at a Montmartre cafe, hands raw from steaming milk, pennies adding up to a plane ticket home, if home still existed. Levi surprised me with a picnic on the hill. Baguette, brie, a bottle of cheap Bordeaux, the city twinkling like a promise below. We lay on the grass, heads together, and I confessed the ache. I missed them, not the lies, the before. Dad teaching me to throw a curveball, Mom's apple pie burning every Thanksgiving. He traced my palm with his thumb. "Missing's okay. It don't make you weak." Then his phone buzzed, a video call from his sister in Philly. Her face filled the screen, tear-streaked. "Levi, it's bad. Mom's sick, real sick." Cancer came back. The world tilted. He froze, color draining like ink in water, then bolted upright.
I gotta go.
Flight tomorrow. Panic surged in me, twin to his grief. I'll come. We face this together. But he shook his head, eyes fracturing. You can't. Your life's here now, rebuilding.
Mines.
Scattered. It was betrayal's echo, sharper for coming from him, the one who'd stitched my wounds. Don't do this, I begged, grabbing his sleeve. Don't leave me half-healed. He cupped my face, forehead to mine, rain starting to patter. I'm not leaving you, Xander. I'm choosing us by going, sending money for your ticket, whatever it takes. But you gotta stand first. Alone. That's the strength they tried to steal. The kiss that followed was fierce, a vow sealed in storm clouds. Then he was gone, backpack vanishing into the metro's maw. Alone again, but not the same. The apartment echoed without his sketches cluttering the table, his guitar's lazy strums. I packed slow, heart a-bruise, and booked the flight. Not to Ohio, not yet. To Philly first. Levi's sister met me at arrivals, her hug fierce. He needs you, kid, even if he won't say it. We drove through autumn leaves turning fire red, the city skyline jagged as hope. Mom's hospice room smelled of antiseptic and wilted lilies, but Levi was there, slumped in a chair, unshaven and hollow-eyed. He looked up, surprise melting into relief, and pulled me down beside him. You came. Always? I whispered, lacing our fingers. His mom's eyes, faded but sharp, flicked between us. You too. You're good for each other. Don't let fear win. She passed at dawn, her hand in his, peace in the release. The funeral was small. Rain-lashed graveside in a Quaker cemetery, dirt clumping like unspoken grief. Afterward, Levi and I drove south. Aimless at first, then purposeful. We crashed in a Roanoke motel, then pushed to New Orleans, where jazz spilled from doorways like confessions. Betrayal's scar faded. Not gone but scarred over. A reminder of resilience. I called home from a payphone in Savannah, voice steady. I'm coming back. On my terms. Love me or don't. But I'm your son. Silence. Then Dad's rasp. Doors open. Always was. We rolled into Columbus at Christmas. Snow dusting the eaves like forgiveness. My parents waited on the porch, older, softer around the edges. Mom's pie cooling on the sill. Hugs were awkward, words halting, but real. We were scared, Dad admitted over cocoa, eyes on his mug, of losing you to a world we didn't understand. I nodded, Levi's hand warm in mine under the table. You almost did. But love? It bends, doesn't break. If you let it. Levi and I didn't stay long. We chased horizons, his art blooming in Soho lofts, my graphic design gig in Austin startups. Strength came not in solitude's forge, but in the quiet alloy of us. Two wanderers, mended by miles and mercy. America stretched vast before us, from amber waves to purple mountaintops. A canvas for the unscripted. I'd come out, been cast adrift, but in the leaving, I found my anchor. Not in blood, but in chosen kin. And in Levi's gaze, that endless East Coast smile, I saw home. Not a place, but a becoming.